The Then and Now Stories project is a community project to help Kirkby Lonsdale to explore its stories about World War I. One of the reasons that we're coming into schools is to let children know about World War I, but also to get them to find out about their own family stories. So they're going back, talking to their parents or grandparents, and seeing if anybody in their family was actually involved.
My great-uncle Vickers was killed at age 23 while serving as a sergeant airgunner in 1943.
My granddad's uncle, my great-great-uncle, left university in Durham and volunteered and went in as an officer. He went missing in the first 3 weeks, presumed dead. His mother never moved house, in case he came home.
My grandpa Gaulle served in 1918 for the Shropshire Infantry in the trenches in France. He never talked about it. My great-grandpa Jackson served in 1914 to 1918 in the Royal Artillery in the trenches in France. He was gassed, which affected his lungs and throat for the rest of his life.
Two of my great-great-great-uncles, Walter Leeming and his brother Henry Richard Leeming, fought in World War I. Before they went to war, they lived on a farm in Giggleswick. Walter was a rifleman in the West Yorkshire Regiment. He was killed in action on the 7th of the 1st, 1918. He was 21 years old. His memorial is at Tynecott, Belgium. His brother Henry was also in the West Yorkshire Regiment. His rank was a private. He was killed in action on the 29th of the 7th, 1916. He was 26 years old. He is buried at Caterpillar Valley Cemetery, Longriver, France.
My great-granddad fought on the front line in World War II. He said he was lucky to come home unhurt. I think we remember war vets because they fought for their lives in danger.
In World War II, he was called Grandad Timon, great-granddad. He accidentally, one day whilst he was driving a army vehicle, he accidentally drove it into no man's land. And luckily he survived. Nobody got killed, including the people on board, even though they could have been shot or taken hostage.
My great-great-granddad, Arthur Cross, was involved in World War I. He was a joiner, and whilst he was in the war, his job was to make lavatory seats. He was based in Egypt and never came home for 4 years. He didn't suffer any real illness after the war, but it did affect him.
My great-granddad George William Gidget served in World War I. In an archive box we have found his medals and a photo of him. From this we have learnt that he was a gunner/signaller, number 113374.
My great-great-grandfather was called Edwin David Geeta. He fought at the Battle of the Somme and got shell shock. He spent a long time in hospital. He did embroidery to keep him calm. And he drew some cartoons when he went off in the trenches, and he was quite a good drawer. This Wireland is my favourite one.
Okay, well, my uncle fought in Afghanistan for about a year or so, and then he came back and we got a call to my dad saying that he got shot in the leg and that he had to have a walker, so we went to the shop, bought him a walker, and then for when he got back. We still see him quite a lot because he lives in Lancaster and he's 46, and he loves to go to the cinema because that's probably really the only thing that he can do. And he likes to watch me play football and rugby and stuff. He's getting so that he can walk faster with his walker and stuff, but he's doing much better.
My grandpa, Major Ian Thomas, who was an officer, fought in World War II. He was part of the surrender at the Battle of Monte Cassino. The Germans surrendered using a tablecloth that ended up being given to my grandfather and now can be seen in the Tower of London.
My auntie's uncle fought in the World War II, but sadly he died in the war. So my auntie used to put a picture of him on the windowsill every November so that everyone could remember him.
The Then and Now Stories drama workshops help the children to really explore their family stories and to make those stories come to life.
Charlie's great-granddad, Charles Bibby, was in Air Prez in Belgium. He was a sergeant in the Royal Artillery. A young officer insisted on going out to an observation post in daylight. He got shot in the bum. Charlie's great-granddad carried him back to hospital. He got mentioned in dispatches for his bravery.
My great-great-grandfather was called Edwin Davies. He married my great-great-grandma on the day that war broke out and got their photo in the paper. He went off to war in 1916 and was a private soldier in the 12th Royal Fusiliers, London Regiment. He wrote to my great-great-grandma every day but did not get any letters back for 3 weeks and then got 7 letters and a Christmas card all at once. He fought at the Battle of the Somme and got shell shock. He spent a long time in hospital. He did embroidery to keep him calm. He died in 1978. Our family still have a photo of him in his uniform, telegrams he sent, drawings he drew, and his war diary.
My great-grandfather fought in France in World War I. He had a bad leg, so he was given a horse to ride, but he was hit in the back by a bullet and had to return to England to get better.
I think we should remember the war, not just because of the victory, but because of all the people who died for us.
In World War I, my great-great-grandfather had to go out to the war. Whilst he was training, he had to face loads of fears. When he came back, he would not like to tell anyone about his experience.
My great-great-grandfather Peter Harvey was in the 5th Lancashire Regiment, which is a local territorial battalion. He joined as a volunteer well before the war. They all agreed that they would go and fight alongside the regular army. He served in Yipes, Wipers in Army Speech, where he was gassed and soon after received shrapnel wounds in his leg. He had to go into an army clearing station, a hospital in a very large tent, where he was declared too injured to carry on fighting and he was sent back to England and then discharged after he had been treated further in hospitals in England.
One of the members in my family went to France and he left his girlfriend alone. So we went on an airplane to France to fight in the war. Sadly and luckily for his girlfriend, he was shot.
World War I, freeze frame 1. Freeze frame 2. Freeze frame 3. Annie's great-great-granddad was killed in Greece by a sniper.
Well, World War I affects me because when I happen to think about it, I think about those who died and those who fought for England and how many of them risked their lives just to save us.
It's nice to remember stuff because especially when you're in your family, it's in your family and you really want to remember people who have died in your family.
I think they want to remember all that destruction, so everybody will try extra hard not for it to happen again.
I think it's important because of, well, if people save lives to help other people.
It was such an awful war and people wanted to remember all the brave people who fought in World War I. Everyone knew someone who had died and got injured in the war, but it did not stop another war.
I think we need to remember them because, like, it is quite a long time ago, but it's actually not. Sort of, it was only 100 years ago. And, like, people went to, like, risk their lives for our country. And, like, we need to remember that.